"Look out!" yelled Joey as a basketball whizzed past my head, just barely missing my already protruding nose. This was a day I dread every week. Wednesday. Gym day. On this day, we always had gym with the 10th graders, and they were mean. Every time one of us would usually end up with some kind of injury. For example, last week, Sam went to the nurse with a bloody nose, and the week before that, Devin went home with a possibly cracked rib. To say the least, I despised this day. "Today we're playing football," said Mr. Benjamin, our gym teacher. This was the 8th week in a row we had played football. Some of us let out a murmur of unenthusiasm mixed with discomfort. Small note about me. I can watch football. I can't play it. We made our way to the dusty rock pit we call a field, and the game started. Benji blew the whistle, and a wall of 10th graders moved forward like a tsunami on an unsuspecting town. Blackness was all I saw. I was now under a 10th grader. A sharp pain shot through my arm. "Oh gosh," I thought, "I'm dead." My next thought that crossed my mind was my arm was broken. That wasn't it either. Mr. Benjamin had to basically roll the 10th grader off of me. In a cartoon, when Mr. Beeman rolled the man off me, I would have been flat as a pancake, and they would have had to use an air pump to reinflate me back to size. I carefully got up. As I started walking to the bathroom, I heard one of them yell, "New record!" Mr. Benjamin ignored this as usual, and the game continued. I opened the door to the bathroom. The damage was 2 bruises on my arm and a black eye. My mom was not going to be happy, I said to myself, because there was no one in the bathroom at that time. Picture day was in a week, and that bruise was not going away. I stared at myself in the mirror for a while. I heard the door behind me open. A little kid walked in, looked at me in the mirror, and hastily ran out. I was confused. I whirled around towards the door just in time to see the kid run out. I stared at the door as it shut, still confused. I turned towards the mirror and immediately saw why the kid ran. My eyes. They were both black. I didn't feel any different, but it looked like I had no pupils, or irises, or any white in my eye at all. I was so transfixed on my eyes that I didn't even see the figure cloaked in shadow in the corner. I spun around, but there was nothing there. When I turned around, my vision centered on my eyes, and my reflection winked. No, I didn't wink. It was definitely my reflection winking at me. With those eyes, those black, unshifting eyes. I freaked out and ran there as fast as I could. I was running so fast that I didn't even see Nick right outside the door, limping because of the brutal football game. I slammed into him. I must have seemed like some kind of crazy person as I yelled at him. "What color are my eyes?" He looked at me enigmatically and carefully said, "Green." I could tell I had injured his ankle a little more, but I didn't care. I was still scared out of my mind. I ran to the nearest window to see my reflection. He was right. My eyes had returned to normal. And there was no figure in the corner anymore. And I definitely didn't wink. After the shock of that, I reluctantly went back to gym. The next day seemed like it had been going normal. Until 4th period, when I had to go to the bathroom. That's when it came back. I had just finished up and I was walking out of the stall when I saw it, or didn't see it, because my reflection wasn't there. Instead, it had been replaced with a shadow figure. Needless to say, I was scared. I had turned around and faced me, but facing me was my reflection with those black eyes. He was standing in front of the door. Just then, the shadow figure reached out of the door towards me. I jumped out of the way and bolted toward the small window that's usually in bathrooms. I leaped onto the toilet and dove out the window onto the concrete parking lot outside. I winced from pain on my bruised arm prior from that day that broke my fall. But that didn't matter. I looked around. Everything was different than before because it was dark. Even though it had been broad daylight when I entered the bathroom. But I didn't care. I took off running. Now, I didn't know what quite made me turn back. Maybe it was the fact there was something with the moon. If that was the moon. It was blue. And there was an overwhelming sensation I was being watched. Or maybe it was because I could hear my little brother inside, crying for help. Turns out that was the worst decision I ever made. If you haven't guessed by now, it was a trap, and a nasty one at that. I ran to the front doors and immediately could hear the noise. It changed now. The pitch had changed, and it had gotten lower, till it was almost a growl. And I was in the basement where the younger kids had classrooms. And it was coming from the room at the end of the hall, where I had Spanish class, or La Clase de Español. Did I mention I was failing? Anyway, the noise was steadily getting louder, and as I entered the classroom, it stopped. There was a loud noise upstairs. It sounded like it was going to go through the ceiling. That was the loudest one of all, followed by a colossal crash, and I saw something fall from the ceiling, but it didn't break it. And then I saw it. It's my reflection with those black eyes. The noise I had followed to get here was now ear-splittingly loud. It took me a few seconds to locate the source of that noise. It was the shadow figure. It emerged and made its way towards me, speaking in familiar voices. "We know you," it said, imitating my own mother. It started to advance on me, backing me slowly towards my reflection.
"We've been watching you for some time now,"
it said, imitating my father, and then started walking toward me, talking as Joey, but when it finished, it was some incredibly low, gravelly voice.
"And it approves."
I know I should have run, but instead I said, "Approves of what?"
"Your life."
Both figures and I lunged towards me. I ran out the door and up the stairs. My reflection jumped right through the floor behind me and attacked. It smiled as it pushed me into the same bathroom where this had all started. It picked me up, and the last thing I remember was watching my hand start to merge into the mirror. Passing a newly polished window, checking his image occasionally, or just in the bathroom mirror at school, is the only time I ever see the light of day. The rest of the time, it's complete blackness. I know he's out there, living my life, which is the scariest part. All my family and friends are none the wiser that I'm trapped. But when I do see out, I see those eternally black eyes staring back at me, for I am his reflection.